Welcome back to Harry Has a Cocktail, episode 11. I am coming to you from my home in New York City because I am no longer on the tour of Wicked. I'm done! I'm done with the tour! I've been doing it for a year. I'm so happy to be home. I'm back in Manhattan. Yes! I'm back! I lied to you on the last video. I said that I would be coming to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. While I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for 3 weeks, everyone had the flu, basically. So now I am in Manhattan. And so I thought, what better way to celebrate being home back in Manhattan than with a Manhattan? I've made several drinks on this show, obviously. I want to get into making some more classic cocktails maybe we've all heard of, certainly that we've had in a bar at some point or another, or maybe we are hesitant to try certain drinks. Oh, look at this. The sunshine's coming in and giving me a nice little horizontal look. Maybe I should close this. Kind of love the sunshine though. Oh, there, that's, well, I'm just gonna leave it the way it is until the sun sets, and it's very odd. It's not gonna work, is it? Okay, until the sun sets, I'm going to work from this angle and talk to you a little bit about a Manhattan. This is the book that I'm working out of. It's called Classic Cocktails by Salvatore Calabrese. I'm getting ready to go to Italy in a couple of weeks. So here's what we got with a Manhattan. A recipe for a Manhattan was published in some of the early 1880s bartenders' guides. Basically, it requires the addition of vermouth to a whiskey cocktail. The origins of the name are unclear. Some say it was created in 1874 at the Manhattan Club for Lady Randolph Churchill, who held a banquet there to honor the politician Samuel J. Tilden, who I believe might have been a mayor of New York. Or maybe he was in charge of the unions or something. Look it up. Today, the accepted recipe for this pre-dinner drink needs a sweet vermouth, but there is another version called a dry Manhattan, which was more popular in the 20s and 30s, and also the perfect Manhattan, a mixture of dry and sweet vermouth. Now, I happen to prefer a perfect Manhattan, which, as it said, was a mix of sweet and dry, but most people like it just with the sweet. So here's a little bit about vermouths. So here we have a couple of vermouths. I've got Cinzano here, which is a sweet vermouth. Here you see it says Cinzano Rosso. Here also are two Martini and Rossi. This is the sweet vermouth, and this is the dry vermouth. Vermouths are a fortified and aromatized wine, and I was just doing some reading on this. It's wine that has brandy added to it, and then spices and sweetened. There are all kinds of different vermouths. Here's a picture of a bunch of different vermouths. But the one vermouth that if you were to Google best vermouth, and the best vermouth that I have tasted, is called Carpano Antica. My friends Heidi and David, hi, they bought us some Carpano a couple of years ago, and it is delicious. Right now I'm going to do a little taste test. I've never really just tasted vermouth alone, so I figured, what the heck, I'll do a little experimentation here. So here I have a couple of coupe glasses. Let's do actually 3 coupe glasses. And I'm gonna just taste a little bit of each one. Just like a little taste test, just to see sort of how they compare. Here's a little bit of the Martini and Rossi. And here I'm going to just taste the dry. And now we're back at this angle because the sun has gone behind a cloud. So we're good. I am having so many camera troubles today. It's terrible. Anyway, first let's taste the dry and see what it's like. It's like a dry wine. And as you know, I favor using dry vermouth in my martinis. When you don't use the dry vermouth, you're just basically drinking a glass of cold gin, which is perfectly fine. It's just not a martini. So now we're going to taste test. This I have the Cinzano, and this I have the Martini and Rossi. Let's try the Martini and Rossi, which is the one I generally use because I'm usually making cocktails on a budget. Even just the smell of it is sweet and good. You know, in the old days, they used to basically, in the old days, they basically used to drink vermouth as an aperitif by itself, just on some ice. Here's the Cinzano. Very different. The Cinzano is quite a bit more, I would say almost medicinal. Do you hear the music in the background? Now that I'm back in New York City, you will hear a lot of background noises in my videos. There's nothing I can do about it. It's Manhattan. We'll hear some sirens. We'll hear some piano playing and hopefully not too much percussion from next door because he's a drummer. And so, yeah, so you'll hear a lot of sounds that have nothing to do with making cocktails, but maybe it's nice background music. Right now, it's really nice, that piano. I have to say, I prefer the Martini and Rossi. I guess there's just a different kind of spice going on in the Cinzano, you know? I mean, it's good, but my preferred one is the Martini and Rossi. There you go. So, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and make a Manhattan. These are the ingredients of a Manhattan. We're gonna use rye whiskey. Most people use bourbon in their Manhattans. Here's the thing that you need to know about what bourbon is. Bourbon is whiskey. Rye is whiskey. Whiskey is whiskey. They're all whiskeys. Bourbon is generally made from a corn mash, and rye is made from a rye mash, or rather, the mixture of grains that they use in the mash. In the US, I believe it can only be called a rye if it has at least 51% of rye in the mash. Bourbon generally uses corn. So bourbon is a little sweeter than rye. As you know me by now, episode 11, I'm not a big fan of sweet drinks. So I'm liking the fact that rye is kind of making a comeback. I think this is also another reason why I generally like to drink a perfect Manhattan, which uses both sweet and dry vermouth. But I think what I'm gonna do today is go ahead and just make a regular Manhattan. And I'm gonna go ahead and just make it with the sweet vermouth. So let's take the dry out of here, because I'm not gonna do that. So we've got, I'm gonna use the old Overholt rye. We're gonna use 2.5 ounces of it. We're going to use 1 ounce of the sweet vermouth, and we're going to use a couple of dashes of Angostura bitters. And then we're going to garnish it with a cherry, and we are going to make it in a mixing glass. Look at this fancy mixing glass. I completely forgot that I had this mixing glass back here at my lovely apartment. I still love the one I bought at the dollar store when I was on the road, but I thought I'd mix it up a little bit, and literally, and mix it with this fancy one. It has a glass spoon. I don't know if this will work as well as a regular spoon, but you know, we're gonna try. So here we go. This is how you make a Manhattan. We have got some really nice music playing right now next door. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and say 2.5 ounces of rye. This is 1.5, 2.5, and 1 ounce of sweet vermouth. And then a few dashes of Angostura bitters. Dash, dash, dash. I love my Angostura bitters, so a little extra doesn't hurt. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're just gonna fill the mixing glass with ice and stir it. I gotta say, I prefer this mixing glass because it's not quite as thick. So I'm getting a sense, like, the longer I stir it, it's cold on the outside, so I'm like, this thing is ready to go. Now, some people shake their Manhattans. I have shaken my Manhattans as well, but you're supposed to stir them because they talk about when you shake alcohol, you can bruise the alcohol. I don't really know about that. But when you stir it instead of shake it, you're just not gonna get a cloudy martini. You're not gonna get a cloudy drink. You're going to get kind of a clear drink. Now we need a chilled martini glass. Ooh, it's so chilly. You can't see it right now, I'll read it to you later. But this is, my husband, Sean, bought this for me for my 50th birthday. It says happy 50th birthday on the edge of this. Okay, so here we go. We're going to strain it into our glass. See that? See how it's nice and clear? If you shake it, it's gonna get cloudy. So, you know, if you don't want it to be cloudy, do that. And then we're going to top it off with or garnish it. We're not topping it off because it's not going to float. With a maraschino cherry. Doink. Can you read it? Can you read that there? Happy 50th? Happy 50th birthday from my husband. Thank you, Sean. Here we go. Now we're going to try this Manhattan. Look how nice that looks. Isn't that pretty? See, that's really good. It's just delicious. It's such a classic, wonderful, great drink. And I'm liking it actually with the rye rather than the with the bourbon. It's just not as sweet. If you wanted to have a perfect Manhattan, what I would do is I would still use 2.5 ounces of rye or bourbon, whatever is your choice, and then the ounce that you're gonna do at the end, I would maybe do half and half, dry and sweet. The dry will just cut the sweet vermouth, so it's not quite as sweet. Y'all, I'm so happy to be back home. I'm so happy. I had a really wonderful time doing Wicked. I met a lot of really wonderful people, great people, and the show was really wonderful. Packed houses every night, standing ovations every night. But I'm just glad to be home. This is my Manhattan in Manhattan. Yes. Can I put like a thought balloon around it? Yes. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers.